Okay, been thinking about this hydrogen fuel cell thing for a while, so decided to give it a go. I know really nothing about it, so I'm just going to make it up as I go along and see what happens. Seen a couple of YouTube videos, as I said. First of all, I'm going to have to eat the pickles. I'm going to use the pickle jar. The poker chip on the top is a plastic poker chip. I'm going to cut a hole on the top, put that on so that I can keep the two terminals separated by a bit of plastic. The actual electrodes I've toyed with various ideas, and the one that I like the best and which I'm going to use is to use this old plastic bottle which had honey in it. And cut the sides down, cut the sides off, pull it upside down on the underside of the lid. You'll see what I mean. It's a bit hard to explain. I'm going to put a bubble jar on the side, but I'll get back to you when I've got some of this sorted out. So, pickles are eaten. Cut a hole in the bottom of the jar lid and glued that poker chip on just with some impact adhesive. A couple of screw holes, a couple of connectors. The honey bottle, I cut the sides off, and that sits on there. There'll be a couple more connectors in the bottom, and the bolts obviously. And let's see if we can still do this with one hand. The idea is that this will go nicely in here, and the wire I'm going to use, I decided to strip it out of an old piece of electrical cable, so we'll see how it goes. And there we have it. That's all connected up on there. It's not pretty, but we'll see what happens. Now the next stage, I offset this so that I can put this in here. Assuming anything that this works even slightly and I get some gas and hydrogen, then that's where it's going to come out. So I'm going to make that hole, find a nut to go on the end, and we'll get that on maybe with a rubber washer. And then we start on the bubble jar. And we have a bubble jar. This silicone is still wet, but as you see, I just put a lock nut on each side of the tube. I had to heat the tube up in hot water to get actually through those, so it's tight anyway, but put those together and stuck some silicone in there. Gonna wait for that to set before I do anything else. Got this in, found a nut on the back, but I put some silicone around it anyway, just to make sure that's going to be watertight, gassed, well, yeah, that it's tight. So we're almost ready to go. We're going to wait for those for all the silicone to dry. I think I'll probably attach the bubble tank onto the side of the main tank, and we'll get back to you once we've got some dry silicone. Okay, so we're dry, we're set up. We've got water in. Half of the bubble jar is filled and the main jar is full. This is not distilled water, this is just water from my well, which I want to try without any kind of electrolyte in, just to see what happens, and then I'll try putting in some bicarbonate of soda and seeing how much of a difference it makes. My well water is very high in iron, not sure if that's going to make a difference. Got an extra glass of water here so we can actually see some bubbling happening. If anything happens at all, to do is connect the other battery terminal and see if anything happens. And we're connected. And absolutely nothing is happening. Well, that's cool. Watching some bubbles in there, but nothing seems to be moving. Okay, let's try with some bicarb in there. Just give me a second. So as you can see, there's so much bubbles you can't even see the electrodes in there anymore. But I was getting nothing until I realised that although I'd sealed around this piece, I hadn't sealed around the bolt holes. So I was losing gas from there. It all looks horribly messy now, but I just put some silicone on there, and now I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it took a little while, but now the bubbles are starting to come, just slowly, but I believe it's speeding up. Once we've got a little bit of pressure in this one, we should start to see some bubbles in here. I'm just going to leave it running for a while and see what happens. Okay, kind of losing the light a bit now, but my water has turned bright green. I suspect that what that's telling me is that I'm not supposed to use copper electrodes. I have to think of something else. But everything else is working, and you can hopefully see there we're getting some bubbles of what we have to assume is hydrogen. That's very slow, but as a starting point, I'm quite happy. And now I'm going to start improving the whole thing one little bit at a time until I get it better. And I'm going to just see if we can actually just see if this is hydrogen here. Oop. Gonna burn my fingers. That was a nice pop. I'm going to do it one more time. If I can light a match with one hand. Yeah, okay. It looks like it's doing what it's supposed to do. I'm going to have to do something about this green water. I'm going to get the distilled water anyway, but I think I'm going to have to make some new electrodes out of stainless steel or something like that. Okay, but as a first attempt at my hydrogen generator, quite pleased with that, but that needs a lot of development.